You're listening to the We Are Libertarians Podcast Network. Find all of our shows at wearelibertarians.com. You're listening to the We Are Libertarians Network. Learn more at wearelibertarians.com.
Welcome to We Are Libertarians. This is Jeremiah Morrell. I guess it's the We Are Libertarians East Coast Outpost. It's Newcastle, Indiana. I am the guy that stole a board from dear leader Chris Spangle. He has decided that this podcast has to be called The Boss Hog of Liberty. So I don't know how, when people ask me what the name of my podcast is, I sheepishly have to say, oh, it's the Boss Hog of Liberty podcast. Joining me today, on my left, is Greg Jr., Mr. Dakota Davis, making his second appearance. I guess he's an official co-host now. Welcome.
An official co-host at this point.
Well, I'm excited that you didn't get run off. We both lost our dates. We had the ladies were here last time, and here we are with just a room full of dudes now.
One time, and it was enough. They'd had enough.
Yeah, I think Sarah will probably want to get back on here, but I don't know. You think Audrey's coming back?
Well, I asked Audrey if she would come back tonight, and this was only like 30 minutes ago. She said, well, I just painted my fingernails. So
she's washing her hair. She painted her fingernails.
She painted her fingernails. So
couldn't possibly do this.
No.
All right. And then in the third chair tonight, we do have a guest. I keep running across this guy all over the place.
Seriously.
This is Patrick Calvert. Patrick, welcome.
Hey, I'm glad to be here. I'm super excited.
That's awesome. So, Patrick, you're not necessarily a libertarian, but you're intermingling, and you have some friends that identify as libertarians, exactly. I guess, right?
Yep. Do you want me to
go ahead.
Down? Yeah. So I'm 20. I go to Ball State University. I'm a journalism major, and I write for my my newspaper here in Newcastle, and then my student newspaper. I've done some work for the Indianapolis Star. I'm actually the political reporter, so this is kind of appropriate. This is really cool.
It's perfect. Yeah.
I've actually I interviewed Gary Johnson when he went to Purdue when he went up there. And I've been to Trump rallies, lots of state stuff.
You've had a chance to cover an awful lot of stuff. So I've been friends with Patrick for 2 or 3 years now, I think, something like that. And through high school and now in your college career, first of all, you picked one of the best schools to go to for, I know it's a school 10 minutes down the road from you. But, I mean, if you want to be involved in sports media or just the regular journalism side, Ball State is the choice, man.
Yeah, I enjoy it. I don't know. I skip class all the time to do journalism stuff, and now it's kind of biting me. This past, I haven't slept. I've been awake for 24 hours now, because last night I was like, I just got to do all my work, and so I'm still going, though. I'm on coffee.
And you can tell that you really like the journalism thing. You're like, hey, you want to do a podcast that nobody listens to? Yes, absolutely. I'll stay up for 24 hours to do your podcast. Let's go.
There were 16 people that listened last time. I mean, we're reaching out.
We're doing well. We're not at the Tadcast level, but we're making it.
You got to persevere. You got to keep up with it.
We're just getting started. We're throwing out good content, and I think we're actually going to do really well. When we had 16 listeners, Spangle hadn't put it in the real feed yet. So those are people that found it on Facebook or shared. Now that it's in the real feed, I think we're probably, I honestly think, I haven't got numbers from them, but I'm sure we're well over 1,000 people on the first listen.
Yeah, I would assume so.
And I think if your
1,000
leader,
to 1,200.
Yeah, if your leader's benevolent enough to put this one in there too, I think we're going to do okay. So I've known Patrick for a while. You've done some really cool stuff. You spent time at the Indy Star.
Yep.
You were at Ferguson, right?
I went to Ferguson. I wasn't even in college yet, and I did a video for the Indianapolis. That's crazy.
So you're a high school kid, and you get in the car and you drive to St. Louis
by myself. And because I was just like, I'll go on cover whatever on Twitter. I had a website, whatever. But then I found out that some Indianapolis activists were coming up, and I had covered them in the past, on Twitter or whatever. I didn't know what I was doing, but then I called the Indianapolis Star and was like, hey, I'm already here, and these people are from Indianapolis. They're with the Black Lives Matter group, and they came to protest. So I was like, shit, I got to do the story. I got to do a video. I just sucked at writing at that point, so I did a video with my phone. Actually, it turned out pretty well. Because I was an idiot and I broke my camera the night before. But it was exciting. It's interesting. I don't know. I love to be out there.
Well, we're libertarians. We're used to correspondents making terrible mistakes.
Yeah.
We sent Tanner Purdue to Washington.
I heard about that.
And he was supposed to be out there, take videos, and report back for the We're Libertarians Empire. And he literally gets to Richmond, Indiana, 20 miles down the road, drops his phone in the coffee, and all he's able to do over the next 20 miles is type phones FUKD.
Yeah, I've never seen that.
And that's all we got. That was the entire report from Tanner. We didn't even think he actually went, but we got pictures. Yeah. He went to the inauguration.
Things happen. Like I understand. Like,
so you were able to actually make stuff happen out there, and you at Ferguson, and
I went to Republican National Convention too.
That was last summer. So I saw you again at the County 4-H Fair.
Oh, yep.
And you were covering. Right you were covering. You were like leaving the next day. So, you had covered the outdoor cooking. Judging.
Yep.
Did you have to pay to get into the RNC?
Okay, so I went on my own because I just like to do this crazy shit. So I didn't actually get into like the stadium or anything.
Oh, okay.
And I was there not writing for anybody, but I was going to tie it back to Indiana somehow and get it published in my college paper. So I actually went to this LGBT, like pro-LGBT Trump party. And they weren't going to let me in because I was kind of an idiot. And I said, there's drinks and stuff. And I was like, hey, can I get a pass in here and all this stuff? And for some reason, I told him I was 19. I was 19 at the time. And he wasn't going to let me in, but I just bugged him and he let me in. But I saw some big names there. I guess if you want to call it the alt-right or the far-right or whatever. But Milo was there.
Really?
Yeah, Milo was there.
Nobody protested Milo that day, did they?
No, they loved him in there. Oh, my.
Oh, I bet they did.
Gert Wilders, he's a far-right, I think from the Netherlands. Mm-hmm. He was there. There's a lot of people there. I'm not sure. Do you guys know Mike Cernovich? Or
I don't think I know that name.
Yeah, I don't know that.
I'm the most poorly read libertarian on the face of the earth, Patrick.
It's cool.
I just read anything you write, basically.
Yeah. Hey, thanks, man. Yeah, thanks. I appreciate it. I try to do my best. So, but I pretty much wrote a story about tying it back to Mike Pence. That was my tie back to Indiana.
Absolutely.
Talked to LGBT supporters, whatever. But yeah, so that was cool too.
All right. So, and then Patrick and I run across each other in the most random places. So when we did the last podcast, Sarah and I were getting ready to take our spring break. I think I had just gone to D.C. for some stuff I do with Purdue University, and then we flew out to Las Vegas. We went from Vegas out to L.A., saw some family in L.A., and had a great time. And then the last 2 days of the trip were insane. We drove from Los Angeles to Phoenix, through the desert, through the mountains, hung out with some family there, saw the botanical gardens in Phoenix, and then the next morning we got up. I was wearing shorts. It was 85 degrees. It was beautiful. And we said, let's go after the Grand Canyon, Hoover Dam, and finish out in Vegas. Got in the car, 80 degrees. We're in the desert. And I swear to God, 2 hours later, we're 7,000 feet altitude. And there's pine trees everywhere. And it's 30 degrees, and I'm in a snowstorm. And I can't stop laughing. I'm just laughing uncontrollably. Because, it was 95 degrees the day before. We're in the Joshua Tree National Monument or whatever, and then it's just so diverse out there, so much going on. So we checked out the Grand Canyon. It was cool. Got to see it. You can jump on my Facebook and see some of the Grand Canyon pictures and the videos. It was like it was raining dipping dots on us. It was like vanilla dipping dots hitting us. It was nuts. And then we ran over to the Grand Canyon or to the Hoover Dam. Saw that. I'm in engineering and bridge construction and dam construction, so that was a really cool thing to go see. And then got to Vegas like 7 o'clock, and our flight was leaving the next morning at 6. So we're like, we are not getting a hotel room. We're going to hang out, have a good time. And I'm looking on Snapchat, and I see the same filter I've been using, the Las Vegas filter, and on Patrick's page, I'm like, what the heck, man? He's stalking me.
It's crazy.
So I'm like, dude, what are you doing? And you were having In-N-Out, right? You tried the In-N-Out burger for the first time?
I just had In-N-Out, and I was super close to you when you commented on my Facebook post or something like that.
Yeah, you're like a half block away.
Yeah,
and we were both on the strip.
It's amazing.
It was crazy. It was perfectly lined up.
What are the chances of that happening, though?
It's ridiculous. But, Vegas is a place, like, if you're going to meet somebody, like, if you go to D.C. or you go to Orlando or you go to Vegas or something, I guess, that's a pretty good chance you're going to meet somebody you know or somebody's going to be in town when you're there, right? But, yeah, he was like a half block away, and Sarah had gotten tired, and, we'd driven all day. We'd driven like 500 miles, and then we're like, hey, we're in Vegas. So I was there to party and have a good time. So we went to an all-you-can-eat buffet and unlimited drinks, so I was half lit. And Pat met us. Vegas, so I think... At least the understanding I have, depending upon your age, Vegas can be more fun or less fun.
Exactly. Yeah.
And Patrick is like 10 minutes from being 21,
Yeah,
and he's in Las
exactly.
Vegas on spring break with his brother and his mom and dad.
Oh my god.
So you're able to get into the casinos, but you can't put any money in them, Mr. Papa Giorgio, right?
Yeah, as long as I don't get caught. I didn't
Right.
do it, so I wasn't breaking the law or anything, I guess.
Right.
But my parents my mom and my sister had just got out of the Britney Spears concert in the same building
Yeah,
or something.
yeah, I think I saw your parents, yeah.
And they were like, come meet up with me. And I felt like I was being babysitted. Like, they were drinking. I was thinking I can have more fun in Muncie on the weekend. Like, that sounds crazy. But,
Muncie or Vegas, Patrick's the one guy who says,
Yeah,
"Oh, you know what?
seriously.
Let's go to Muncie."
my friends were like, Patrick, because I was posting on Snapchat, I kind of wish I was in Muncie. And they were like, I would trade places with you right now. And I was just like, I don't know.
That's awesome. So yeah, so Sarah was done. She went to the parking garage to just to call it a night. So I was thrilled Patrick was there, and
That was perfect.
we
man.
walked around, hung out, and checked out the. I think we went down and placed a bet. We got to the
that cool sports.
the
like,
Venetian.
that-
Yeah, we went to the Venetian and the Palazzo and got to their sports book. It was great. It was a fun, really cool place. So I'm like legitimately, the next 2 or 3 days I got home and I'm like, I'm gonna make a trip to Vegas just to go hang out for 3 or 4 days and actually see the city and have some time. But I was like The Walking Dead when you walked back with me
dude.
I had driven all day.
You look pretty worn out.
I was
honestly
done.
like
Yeah.
I was like, this guy he's gonna fall asleep driving or something.
Yeah.
Because you told me that you had been like, you were up for like over 24 hours, right?
Yeah, I was up for like 20 at that point. Yeah, we'd gotten up at dawn.
Yeah.
It was, we were up at like 20, 22 hours, driven 500 miles, and we were returning the rental car and we were done. So we got home. Thankfully, we flew on Southwest. We didn't fly on United.
Yeah, yep.
So what did you fly home? Back to Cincinnati?
Frontier.
Okay,
Yep.
yeah. So you didn't get tased
No,
or
I didn't
beaten
get
or anything?
tased. They didn't bloody my mouth or
Yeah.
anything like that, luckily.
So what do you guys think? This United thing blew up in the last week here. This is like, I guess it's the day before Good Friday. We're recording this podcast to timestamp it here. So over the course of the weekend or this week, I guess, United had a flight that they wound up needing to put some extra people on, and they went to like $800 for a new seat, and then they said, we're just going to throw you off the plane at this point. Is that what should have happened, Dakota, or what do you think?
Well, I think that the point needs to be made that it wasn't United Airlines that knocked this guy in the face and then dragged him off of a plane with a bloody lip. I think it's important to note that it was actually the aviation police that did that. I mean, everybody's pointing the finger at United, but I'm sure that, me being the person that I am and just being distrustful of any body that is in any kind of authority, I want to point the finger at the aviation police before I point the finger at United. And I would also like to note the point that this dude he refused. Like, I know that what happened to him is horrible. Like, that shouldn't happen to people that are just trying to make it back home. But, everybody thinks that their flight is the most important.
Well, this guy was a doctor, right? So
Right.
he's, reading that, as time goes by, better stories come out, more stories come out. So it was a really small plane. There were like 70 seats. There weren't that many seats to go with it anyway. And it was like there was a youth group with some chaperones. So that was like 8 of the seats were that. And then they had this doctor guy. And everybody talks about how he's a doctor, and I'm thinking he's probably like a plastic surgeon.
Right?
He's gonna do some augmentation in the morning. Everybody's like, "Oh, he's probably not a lifesaver guy." So he's, it's gonna be like he's got a PhD or whatever. But honestly, I guess he's a legit doctor, medical doctor. The Louisville Courier-Journal really upset a lot of people.
They slammed him for his past.
Yeah.
But
I don't think. Just my personal opinion.
That's what you're here for.
I just think that that's kind of messed up. Okay, everyone.
It shouldn't matter.
That really
Everybody
shouldn't
has a
matter.
past.
Everybody has bad parts about their past too.
You're a ticketed person on an airplane. Nobody needs to know that 5 years ago you got arrested and convicted for something. It has no bearing on the fact that you're a customer of an airline.
Exactly, and he was punished. He couldn't practice for a while. I think it was in 2015 or something. He was finally able to practice again or something.
Yeah,
the man is cleared. Just why even dig that up?
In their defense, I guess what they said is they were like, it would have been blatantly obvious. It would have been like in Indianapolis, Tim Durham or somebody, where they're like, oh, by the way, this guy, they felt like they had to write that story or mention that story. I don't know. I thought it was the wrong thing
I'm
to
sure
do.
people clicked on
I
it,
think it was-
but
Of course, yeah.
I mean,
I
I'll be
did.
honest, I clicked on it too.
Because it's Gannett paper, the Louisville Courier-Journal runs it, so then the USA Today picks it up, and the Indy Star does, and it just
And
goes
it's
on,
everywhere.
and it's national. So, as a libertarian, what I was saying, and what our national chairman, Nick Sarwark, had said in a great Facebook Live video a couple days ago, is they should have just let the market work. So, if you have to get a seat on a plane, they went to $800, and then they started just throwing people off because they were allowed to.
Yeah,
The right
it's
solution
under,
would
like-
have been
yeah.
because they basically went to the federal minimum that they had to go to.
Yeah.
They could have spent as much money as they wanted to. So that
Right.
and I can tell you that somebody on that plane, when they went to 1,500 or 2,000, 2,500, somebody's going to say, "Yeah, let's go."
Exactly. Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
just a
Absolutely.
a
Yeah,
very
I totally
poor
agree
choice
with
on
that.
United side because they only needed one. They
Yeah.
had 4 they needed, and they got to where they had all but one done. Some one person would have taken the deal.
Yeah.
So it's just unfortunate.
Yeah, I just felt like it was, like I said earlier, it should be noted that United Airlines didn't have, like the Mick Police out here that's trademarked, like in Ancapistan or something. They didn't bring these, Black Hawk warriors down on this dude. It was the government that brought the police force in there and forcefully removed this man from his seat.
So it's like anytime you have price controls, if you have price controls or you have something that you pass as a law, ultimately what happens to enforce it is guys with guns show up to make it happen.
Right.
It always turns to violence.
Yeah.
So in any time, if we set market rates, if we try to set market rates as a society, and we don't just freely exchange, I will trade my seat for a certain amount of money, the market doesn't work, and it's not a good transaction for everybody. And then guys with guns have to show up.
Yeah.
Right.
And then medical doctors get bloodied, and companies lose $800 million in value in 24
I will say,
hours.
though, the memes that have come out of this...
Those have been
Dude,
worth it.
those are
Maybe
legendary.
those have been worth it.
so fire.
Those are, but I kind of want to talk about the PR after.
Sure.
I mean, because of course I get what you mean. I agree with you actually. How it wasn't United who pulled them off, it's the aviation police.
Yeah.
But no matter what, you're going to get reaction.
Mm-hmm.
Even if it's crazy, even if you guys feel or I feel or they feel like they don't deserve it, but they're still getting it. What do you think about the PR after that with United? Do you think they should have?
No, their CEO was awful. The last thing you want to
yeah.
do is blame your customer for your problem,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah,
I mean,
that's just...
the guy, and then
that was a mess. It was a mess.
it was a textbook what not to do. What not to do.
Mm-hmm.
But, I feel like the CEO of United might have a pretty good shot of becoming the next president after all this. He's doing a really good job. He's on the fast track.
Yeah. Wow. We'll get to our president in a minute. I've got some more stuff on the rundown list here I want to get into about the behavior of our president. So thankfully we all got back home. We flew back home, made it. Hosted a little party here, Dakota, last week. Any comments on Saturday night's events?
I saw a lot of skin.
So, all right. So we attended a little We Are Libertarians house party here at my place, and Greg Lenz said it looks like an autistic person parked these people here. Dakota, you guys saw my driveway earlier. My driveway safely holds about 8 cars. My yard and my driveway combined, I had 19 cars in the yard and in the driveway.
How many people did you have in the house?
We were over 40.
That's a party.
We were over 40.
It is a party.
And then they were parked. Greg got here late. Greg had a delay. If you're in Cadiz and you're missing a mailbox, we're sorry. Greg was texting Tad. And if somebody finds Greg's mirror, he'd like it back. It's in Cadiz as well. Sorry, guys. But Greg parked 3 doors down. It was just nutty how many people showed up. So Dakota was here, his fiance was here, Audrey, and there's a couple of pictures on the Weird Libertarians insider group there. She got some ink?
Yeah, she did. She got some ink. The old TW right on the back.
The TW.
Yep.
I'm surprised that you let that happen, man.
I'm not an overbearing tyrant.
But you didn't get in line. Zach Lee got right in line.
Eric Lee.
Eric Lee got right in line.
I don't think Zach Lee would have.
Zach probably would not have. No, he had to work. He had to make some real money. But Eric Lee, our friend Eric from here in Newcastle, another fellow in the libertarian sphere over here, he got the full Tad Western, right?
Yeah, he got a full Tad Western. See, Audrey just got the TW. And he got the full Tad Western right on the hindquarters.
There's more real estate to work with Eric than there is with Audrey.
I wasn't going to bring it up, but you went there.
All right. So that was the party.
Yeah, and I woke up the next morning, and you're texting me telling me to get down to Stacks.
Yeah, we had a great time.
I felt horrible, and Audrey was still... she was still there. Like, she was still
in party mode?
Pretty close to the level as what she was when she left. But... I woke up, and she's laying in the bed next to me, and I look over, and I had completely forgot about the Tad Western. And I look over, and it's like right there, and I just died laughing, and she's like, "What are you laughing at?" So I just traced my finger over it, and she just died. It was hilarious.
Oh my God! What a time! So
yeah, it was a great time.
We'll have some more of those. I try to have a little party for the Wall Empire people to come together, get our East friends and our heck, we had people come. There were people here from Michigan. Lisa Crosby's from Newcastle originally, longtime friend of mine. She flew up from Miami. She legitimately bought a ticket.
That's
and flew
crazy. I know her.
Yeah, you know Lisa.
Yeah.
She flew up and hung out with us for a couple of days. So it's crazy the draw we have. Just have some fun and unite around a couple good ideas.
Yeah, it was a really good time.
I was disappointed that Dakota couldn't stay with us, but he's you've got a dog.
Dodger. His name's Dodger.
Is she named after the baseball team or something else?
Well, first of all, he's a male.
Are you sure?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm 100% for certain. And my other dog is a female. Her name is Daisy.
Sounds like a bitch.
Yeah. She is a bitch. No, she's a 10-month-old German Shepherd. Dodger is a German Shepherd mix. He was a rescue dog whenever I got him.
He's not pure German.
No, he's not. He's close.
All right.
We'll spare him that much. Well, he was a rescue dog whenever I got him.
Don't make this too sad. I don't want
No, he's
crying.
not. It's not going to be sad. He's a great dog. And, well, he got hit by a car, all right? This is before I got him. This is why he was at the rescue center. So they had to do a hip replacement surgery. And
Your dog has a bionic hip?
Yes, he has a bionic hip.
That's wild.
So we'll start out with there. So he has to take glucosamine. We'll keep count on our fingers here. He has to take glucosamine supplements for his hip. Then, about a year after I had him, he started having seizures. So he has epilepsy. Wow. Therefore, we had to put him on phenobarbital. So there's two medications that he has to take at every meal. Well, he had an episode a few weeks ago.
This dog has more problems than Brett Bittner already.
Yeah.
And everybody knows what we think of Bittner.
He gained so much weight on the phenobarb. It's phenomenal.
How old is this dog?
He just turned 5 in February. Wow. So, yeah. He was...
You've only got 10 more years of this ahead of you.
Yeah. He was 45 pounds whenever I got him. After he was put on the phenobarbital, he is now up to 68 whenever I took him to the vet last. I mean, he's gained a lot of weight. So anyway, he had an episode a few weeks ago, so the vet wants to put him on a new medication that is secondary to phenobarbital. So there's the third medication, right?
This dog also comes with some special items.
He does?
Doesn't he wear diapers?
Oh, yeah. Well, see, he wears diapers because,
what?
Like most dogs and people, whenever they have seizures, you lose control of your bowels. See, he's never pooped in the house, but he always pees, and he'll be, laying on his back going full seizure, and it's just a stream of urine. So I put him in diapers whenever he goes to sleep. But I got him some washable ones. He likes them a lot more than the disposable ones.
So
Dakota, he's a good dog.
Dakota can't hang out with us overnight. He's like, I've got to go home and feed my dog 16 medications and put a diaper on him before he goes to bed.
And eye drops.
And it's eye drops.
Yeah, see, he
Does
has
he have
a
glaucoma too? What's
well,
the
he
problem?
has a rare disease that only German Shepherds get that causes their eyes to become cloudy and fog over. So he's partially blind. He's totally blind in one eye and partially blind in the other. So you have to give him eye drops once a day.
Dog needs a seeing eye dog, Dakota.
Yep, he does. And then there's Daisy, and she's wild.
So you watch The Office.
Yeah.
And you know Dwight Schrute.
Oh
yeah.
And you know Angela.
Yeah.
And there was this one time Angela asked Dwight to go give I don't know what the hell the cat's name was.
Yeah, I don't know.
Go give it some medication.
Oh, yep.
And I think this is what needs to happen with Dodger.
See, Dodger's a little bit different than Old Yeller that was referenced in The Office. Well, that was referenced in the group chat.
Yeah.
He's a little bit different.
How so?
Because Old Yeller got what was coming to him.
At some point, they become a burden, man. And when you run out of fingers on a hand for the number of things that your dog needs, I love my pets.
I mean, I don't even notice it, though. Like, there was a time where it was like, I was paying like $85 a month for the medication.
Are you serious, dude?
Yeah, and it just seemed like it was like way too much. Like, it was getting to a burden at that point. But then I got like one of those prescription medicine cards, you know? And I stopped
going... Is your dog on Obamacare?
No, it's like one of those ones that you just pick up at the
dog
pharmacy.
Votes and
yeah, like randomly. So I stopped going to the vet for the medication because they ran out one day. And they're like, well, you can go to Walmart, but we're not sure, how much it's going to cost because it's an actual pharmacy. And I walk in there, and I have the little card with me, and the medication took it all down from $85 to $30.
You don't need a prescription?
No, the vet calls it in for me.
The vet calls the Walmart pharmacy.
Oh, yeah.
This is so complicated.
That's wild, man.
Just put the dog in the freezer with the corn, and it'll be peaceful eventually, and you'll get your life back, man. And then 2 weeks later, you get a puppy.
Oh, I already got a puppy.
Well, I don't know. I don't know how to help you.
He's a good dog, though.
Yeah, I understand. I love Riley. I've got the yellow lab. He's a farty thing, but he's a good pup. Barely fits through the doggy door. He likes the pool, and then he comes back through the doggy door. Did you notice it at the party where the doggy door is?
Yeah,
it comes into the bathroom downstairs.
The bathroom.
Oh. So you go out from the backyard, and so if somebody's in there, it's a nice little surprise. Lisa, going back to this party thing, Lisa Crosby shows up, and she brings a guest book for my bathroom to sign in.
That was hilarious.
And you get to rate it. And it's like, how was the toilet paper? How long did you spend here? Which, it asked like all kinds of survey questions about the environment.
Yeah,
everybody votes badly about the privacy because there's a dog door.
So it's the window.
Oh, and the window.
You sit down on that toilet, it's like, hello, like, hi.
Well, and then the door doesn't lock right either. So there are,
I mean, who puts clear windows in a bathroom?
I didn't do it.
I know, but it's poor
I bought the house
architecture.
like that. There's 2 more bathrooms upstairs here. This house is full of bathrooms, so it's only the newbies that go down there.
So I started going into the master bath because
you just started using
mine? It's got the heat lamps.
Those
How
are
could
sweet.
you not?
You have to check those out,
You
Patrick.
have heat lamps?
This house was built in the 60s.
Yeah.
And, I guess if you want to drip dry, there's a light switch, and there's 2 big red chick brooder lights.
Yeah.
That's
crazy, man.
Yeah, so I got heat lamps.
Living in luxury.
It is a luxury lifestyle, no doubt. 3,000 square feet, 3 garage spaces, 4 bedrooms, 2.5 baths, and heat lamps. It's pretty good.
That's nice.
You should move to Newcastle. You can afford. Hell, even Dakota owns a house, and he's like 22.
I'm 21.
Paid for 21, yeah, and he's this is a land of opportunity if you're willing to do it.
Yep.
So I will reintroduce everybody here. Remember, I am a new radio host or a podcaster. This is Stolen Equipment. The board we got from Spangle. I'm Jeremiah Morrell, the host of the Boss Hog for Liberty or Boss Hog of Liberty. I guess the Boss Hog of Liberty. I guess.
Yeah, that's right.
Is that our name?
Yep, that's
all right.
our name.
And then the voice you hear is Dakota Davis, the newly elected, by the way, chairman of the Henry County Libertarian Party.
Yeah, wild.
You're big time.
Yep.
You forced out Jesse Riddle.
Yeah,
Your coup worked.
Like a year ago, I was a Republican.
Yeah.
So, how's that work?
Well,
You were too, though, right?
I was. Yeah.
Back
So
in
I
the
was.
day?
And then Patrick Calvert here, finishing my reset as I try to be an amateur radio host. Yeah, I was a Republican originally. I was, in high school, I was involved in politics and interested. So I was like, the second district congressman was David McIntosh, who leads the Club for Growth now. Nice. And my dad was a union auto worker at Chevrolet or New Venture Gear in Muncie, Indiana. And my dad and David met outside one day. David was kind of talking to folks, and he got me hooked up where the day before the election, I got on the tour bus going around the district with David and his wife Ruthie and a bunch of other volunteers. And he invited us every year after that. So I took that route with him and got to know him and saw him, which was always cool.
Oh, that's awesome.
Until he left Congress and he actually ran for governor. So I guess it was probably 2000 he ran for governor of Indiana. And Mike Pence had won the Republican primary. So the day they came through the 2nd district at the time, it's now the 6th, it was radio host Mike Pence. It wasn't Vice President Pence. It wasn't Governor Pence. It wasn't Congressman Pence. It was radio host Mike Pence.
Man, that's wild.
And Congressman David McIntosh and us. And we rode around the 2nd district in a motorhome. And there was a bus for other people, and we just hung out. It was crazy. The access I had as like a high school kid was nutty.
Yeah, that's wild.
Yeah.
I've never had anything like that because, like, my parents aren't super political.
Yeah.
I didn't grow up in a political household, so, like, I don't know. I haven't, like, I care and stuff. Like, I'm a journalist. I write about this stuff, but
it was just one of those deals we fell into where he ran across my dad, and it started.
That's wild, man.
And then I volunteered. So in 2012, I ran for state rep, and I happened to run against Tom Saunders. Well, at the same time, I'd gotten involved. There's pictures of me when I was in high school wearing Tom Saunders for state rep shirts when he was running the first time. We went door to door for him. So, and we're friends. It's just, politically. And this is a great segue, actually, Patrick. Thanks for bringing us here.
Oh, you're good.
I have continued to learn about libertarianism, and I got tired in 2000. I guess it was 2008. I voted for John McCain in 2008.
Okay.
But right at that time was when I was making my shift.
I see.
And that was the last Republican presidential candidate I voted for. But they were saying the same stuff, and they were totally all about the establishment.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Marlon Stutzman was not. He was a state senator at the time in Indiana, and he had run for state. He wanted to run for senator. He had been running for senator for about 6 months, and then Evan Bayh said, "Hey, I'm not running for senator anymore." So they called the senator from Virginia, Dan Coates, brought him in, totally cast off Marlon, threw him to the side. And that was kind of when I said it doesn't matter anymore. This isn't a party for me. I can't.
See.
These guys don't. All they care about is they don't care about principle anymore. They just completely care about winning, and they're opportunistic, and they just don't give a damn. So that was my transition, and that kind of started it. Yeah. So 2012, there was a guy running for president, and I supported Gary Johnson in the LP. But every cycle is a learning experience for us, but then there's also these guys that are running that shape the race and give you ideas. 2016, Dakota came along, and you actually were a guy that liked Austin Peterson quite a bit, right?
I was an Austin Peterson fan.
Yeah.
Still am,
Absolutely.
to this day.
So there was a fellow in 2012, the main competition for Gary Johnson was a guy named Lee Reitz.
Okay.
He was very homely looking. He's a libertarian from Texas, not polished, not put together in any way. Small budget, libertarian guy, had no real hopes of actually winning, but he was there for his message. And his message at the time, which I didn't understand, but it kind of resonated, end all wars. He was talking about two things. He was talking about the war on drugs, and he was talking about the war in Iraq or Afghanistan or all of those. So it makes sense to me economically, where no matter what you think about the war on drugs and where you feel about it, we spend trillions of dollars, and we've gotten nowhere. We just made the problem worse with the war on drugs. Mm-hmm. So that one I understood right away. But coming from the Republican side, I'm like, I'm still a guy that doesn't smoke weed. It's not for me. Yeah. I get drug tested at work. I've never touched it, never needed to. It's if you want to, fine, whatever. I don't care.
Yeah, just rather drink a beer.
But I would rather drink a beer and have a good time that way. So that's fine. So, but then this war deal, end all wars. Well, foreign policy, we continued. at a minimum, the way I look at the world, and you guys can share it where you're at, and your view of things, and I guarantee it continues to change for us all as we go along.
Definitely.
But I graduated high school in 2001, right? So,
okay. Yeah.
So I graduated high school in 2001.
That's crazy.
I start my first full-time job, and I'm sitting at work at the place I still work now, and 9/11 happens. So we go to war the year I graduated high school, and we've been at war ever since. We've never stopped.
Yeah.
So
It's
my
been that
entire
way my
life.
whole life.
Yeah. Dakota's born in, God, I don't even know.
96.
Yeah, I was born in
96.
97.
Yeah.
So, like,
Yeah, you're 4
that's
years
all I've
old.
known. Yeah, like, that's pretty much, like, I don't know. It's kind of crazy. I actually remember seeing the images on TV, but that's it.
Sure.
It's, like, very basic.
Yeah, it's the same way for me.
Yeah. But I don't remember much from the day, but I know everything after, for the most part.
Well,
Yeah, right.
So Lee Wright's deal was let's end all wars, and sure that makes sense, but today's the day that the United States dropped the MOAB.
Yep. The
in
mother,
Afghanistan. Yeah, the mother of all bombs or whatever.
Yeah.
And it's just striking. Like, I don't know what we're doing anymore. I understand that we're fighting ISIS, but we don't declare wars as a country.
Yeah.
We don't follow the Constitution.
Yeah.
We have presidents that, last week all of a sudden we dropped or launched 59 Tomahawk
Yep.
missiles in Syria. When I'm not convinced, and this is another reason I brought Patrick on. You're like a minor. You have a minor in Middle East studies.
I study Arabic at Ball State, and
Okay.
then this isn't really like a qualification, but there's a lot of Saudis at Ball State.
Sure.
And
you're much more in the culture than the rest of us. I'll
I
tell
pretty
you
much
that.
lived with them for the whole my whole freshman year, and then I've done stories about people who I did a story about a guy who was a rebel during the Libyan Revolution against Muammar Gaddafi.
Yeah.
He was a driver. He drove weapons, food, took injured people back, and then there's also a teacher at Ball State. I wrote a story about this. Who is from Mosul, Iraq, which, if you know anything about Mosul, it was invaded by ISIS. And
Right up on the mic, Patrick.
it was invaded by ISIS in 2014, and he was there. And the story's about him trying to escape. And he got here on the, I think it's called the Rescue Scholar Fund.
Okay.
He worked at Mosul University. But so I have an idea about all these things. I'm actually working on a story coming up about male guardianship in Saudi Arabia. So I've been interviewing Saudi men and women about their views on their country and women's rights, I guess, because it's a little bit more. But yeah.
All right. So
I have background.
So help me understand your view on this thing.
Okay.
So we've Obama had been in office, and the Russians have kind of grown their influence in Syria and in the Middle East.
Yeah.
They took over Crimea, and the
then
U.S. never really did anything. They
Yep.
drew what they call the red line in the sand, and then we didn't follow it through. So we've gotten to where we are now, where it seems like the U.S. is doing this, we're this very aggressive force,
Yeah.
or show of force, where we're actively practicing on the South Korean, North Korean border. We're moving battle carriers around. We're bombing Syria. We dropped the MOAB today, first time we've ever done it in Afghanistan. So I guess paint the picture of what you think's happening, where this is going.
So, things are more, I guess, high-end escalated, I guess, just because, Russia's in there now, and we bombed that Syrian air base.
Which had Russian troops present on the
so,
base.
Obviously that's a scare. That's scary. But you gotta kind of think about this. It's not just Russia. It's not just the United States. Of course, we're heavy influencers in the region, but we have Saudi Arabia funding groups in Syria with the U.S.
Right.
Against ISIS and also against Bashar al-Assad, which is the leader of Syria. And this has been happening. This has been happening since 2013, 2012. It's kind of started with the Arab Spring, went through Libya, Egypt, Tunisia, and then it hit Syria, and now it's been this civil war.
Right.
And it's super complicated because you also have Iran, which there's a group called Hezbollah, which is in Lebanon, which is they support them and they support the Syrian Bashar al-Assad. And
it's like the Civil War where you've almost got 4 different factions
it's a
going on,
huge proxy war. That's what it is.
Right.
And you got, the U.S. funding groups. You have other countries in the EU funding groups. It's
people in the U.S. funding different groups.
It's so complicated. Like, some people, I can't deal with people who think this is so basic. This is super complicated.
Yeah.
Now, the recent stuff that's been going, like gassing, that's happened before. And civilians have been dying for, like,
it's a civil
long
war.
time. Yeah.
I mean,
this isn't anything new. This isn't anything new. Like, it's just now, I was surprised when Russia came in. I think that was last year or so.
Right.
And I was like, shit, like, this is gonna, people are gonna be stepping on each other's toes.
Yeah,
and
it's real now.
So now, especially now, it's heightened. I understand. And the war on, like, ISIS is very complicated. So, like, that bombing today, I was shocked. I saw on Twitter, I was like, oh my gosh, are you kidding me? Like, maybe I shouldn't be surprised, but this is very complicated.
This is a bomb we didn't drop in Iraq. We didn't drop it in any, this is the 3rd president, I think, that at least that's had the opportunity to drop this, and they never have.
Right. Yeah,
it just kind of came out of nowhere, where all of a sudden they drop. It's the biggest thing that's not a nuclear weapon in its arsenal.
And it was Bill during, like, Operation Iraqi Freedom or whatever it was called. But they didn't have to use it because the resistance wasn't. It was pretty easy to get in there. And,
and it wasn't that we didn't have intel about places where they were set that were so secluded from civilians.
Yeah.
Which, okay, I'm not a Trump supporter by any means of the word, but I will agree with some of the things that he's done. Like, I'm not blinded by party politics. There are things that Trump has done that I agree with, and I think that if you're going to wage some kind of a war, then you actually do it. Here's the thing that we've been doing for the past decades, is we've been going over there and we've been wimpily we've been flicking our wrist at things going on because we want to stay there as long as what we can, we
want to continue to have influence, and that
right, and like
it is a battle for influence.
But we're not going in there for we're going in there for influence, but instead of having influence in places like how we do in Japan, how we do in Germany, in other places around the globe, we're going there like saying, hey, we can do this, but we never will.
Yeah. And that's kind of my view on foreign policy, or what's developed. Is you remember Pat Buchanan? He was almost an isolationist type guy. He ran for president a few times in the 90s.
Okay.
So he primaried President Bush in 92, I believe, and then he ran again in 96 as like maybe 2000 as a reform candidate. He ran in 2000. He was the Gore, Buchanan, Nader, Bush thing. So he ran for president about 3 times in the 90s and early 2000s. But he had a view of foreign policy that was kind of an isolationist or America First thing. And that's a lot of what Trump talked about in his inaugural, where he talked about pulling back, America First. Mm-hmm. And I was optimistic. It didn't last very long. But I was optimistic that, we're in like 150 countries around the world with military stations. Yeah. Why are we doing that? I would much rather say, let's bring everybody back to the United States, have our bases here, and then as we need to, we declare a war, we get into a skirmish, we've got the Navy, we can still function, but we don't have to have these people in this huge military presence around the world. We can have I don't mind if we have the huge military.
Yeah.
Let's just keep those guys in the United States or the guys and gals in the U.S. until we need to move them out.
Yeah, and whenever you have really good friends and family that join the military, it becomes more real.
Absolutely.
It becomes a lot more real whenever stuff like this happens. And then whenever things happen, like we bomb Syria and Russia starts speaking out against our actions, it becomes real for people like you and I sitting here that are young.
That are 20, 21, 22.
Males.
Yep.
Yeah.
And you've got your SSA card, or you're
exactly.
on the list.
Yeah.
I
hope that doesn't happen.
I told Spangle the other day he picked a bad time to be able to fit back into 2X shirts.
That's awesome.
I'd give up that diet and start You don't want to be just small enough that they're going to take you and whip you into shape to go get your ass kicked over there.
But I don't know. It is very, very complicated because our allies are different than other people's allies. We have like Kurdistan, which they have been the Kurdish people have been fighting ISIS for a long. There's a city called I can't pronounce it right. I think it's Kobane or Kobani, but this was like 2 years ago. But that was like a huge. I mean, it was like a long fight. But the coalition airstrikes were there and everything. But then you have Turkey, who the government, I guess, isn't really too fond of the Kurdish people, and they don't want them to have their own state because Kurdistan isn't a state; it's in northern Iraq,
Right.
But you have Kurds in northern Syria too, and there's
So
clashes with them too. So it's
the political lines don't necessarily mean anything because they're drawn by the Western world. It's not where people live, right?
Exactly.
It's political lines and culture lines clashing within a multicultural and political civil war.
And then you also have sectarian differences. So I actually read this really awesome book. I can't remember what it's called. It's written by this journalist, and it's about the Islamic State and how it was formed and all this stuff. But with Shia and Sunni, two different sects of Islam, they pretty much like...
Are we talking like Baptists versus Catholics kind of thing? Protestants
Kind of
versus
like
Catholics?
that, yeah. Turned on it against each other.
Sure.
You had, I mean, this goes all the way back to Saddam Hussein and his army, and then like the U.S. came in, fired all those people. These people don't have jobs anymore. Their jobs were the army, you know. And so what do? They don't have any money. They know how to fight.
That's what their training is.
So
now they go be mercenaries.
Then you have these groups come up that resistance groups, I guess, if that's what you want to call them or whatever. But it's complicated. You have so many different rebel groups. You have it used to be called Jabhat al-Nusra, but I think it's al-Sham now. They changed their name or something. You have Al-Qaeda. You have ISIS. There's so many groups. You have Hezbollah, which is another group that it's
right.
So complicated.
So where's this going to go? Are we going to be declaring war in Syria in the next 2 or 3 months? Is this just going to fizzle out and be like Bosnia, where it's done and over with? What's going to happen, Patrick?
I can't predict the future, but I can't imagine us declaring a war.
Yeah. And I think
we are in war.
Congress authorized it.
Yeah,
So
I don't
let's
think
put it that
it's
way.
going to be like that. It's
the
going to
better
be
question to ask is, should we declare war in Syria?
I guess if we're practically are, but I don't know about that, man.
In my view, if we're going to do this stuff, I think we ought to at least be honest with ourselves. We
That's
haven't declared
true.
a war since World War II.
Yeah, but we've been constantly in conflicts,
we're constantly in these
dropping
conflicts,
bombs,
and I want to follow. I want to follow our process. And if we're really going to be in a war, let's clearly define what the hell we're trying to accomplish, and let's get on the same page and let's go do it.
And I think that
let's not spend the next 2 generations not going anywhere and just continuing to send our fans and family out there.
Which is why I would rather see a MOAB strike than drone strikes. Personally, I would rather see things get done than flicking our wrists at and pretending that the Islamic State is a fly in the room. Like, if you're gonna do something about it, then do something about it. Stop playing games and messing around. You declare war and you fix the problem if there's a problem.
Yeah, I do get that. I understand.
It's the vacuum that you create, right?
It's the vacuum that you create. You have to worry about civilians.
Yep.
So, like in most,
this doesn't happen on a battlefield where nobody's around. This is happening in cities,
in people's neighborhoods. Yeah,
and when civilians are killed, that could make family members be angry towards a certain group, either us or. So, I mean, I understand what you mean and everything, but it's a balancing act. If you like accidentally kill some innocent people, they might turn to a jihadist group or something.
Oh, yeah.
Same thing, not just us, but like with the president of Syria.
We're just going to bomb them into loving us. Is what we're going to do.
I love Middle Eastern politics. I'm so interested in all this stuff. but man, it gives me a headache.
Are you going to make a trip? You're going to try to get out there at some point?
One day in my life, I want to go out there. I have a lot of friends in Saudi Arabia. That might sound a little crazy to you guys, but I'd be all right.
I have friends in California, and that's crazy too. So.
I have friends in Jordan. I have friends in Kuwait, and they're always like, Patrick, if you come over here, like if I wanted to go to Saudi Arabia, I'd have to have one of them host me. I can't just go in.
Right.
But like Jordan, I could go in probably. Kuwait.
You're probably on some lists too. You have all these connections all over the world. I'm pretty convinced that my libertarian politics has gotten me on in some files around the world.
Well, I do a lot of research on this, and then like one time I was interviewing someone for a story, and I left my backpack in the student center at Ball State, and I get a call from the police, and they're like, hey, you left your bag, whatever. And I remembered, I have my ISIS book in there. It's written by a journalist, but I was like, these guys are gonna put me on a list, and so I went and got my bag, and they didn't say anything. Well, this was like last semester, but last week I was in the same building. And the guy must have known me or something. He's like, don't leave your bag again. You're on a list. And I was just like, what? Like, it was kind of funny. But it was a university police officer.
Yeah.
But I'm probably on a list somewhere because I look up I read this book and I look up these,
right. You're looking up
jihadist leaders and stuff. And it's just like, oh, what's this guy doing? No, I'm a journalist. I'm just.
Yeah.
But
very good.
For the record, I just want to put out there that I would rather us not have any position in the Middle East. Yeah, my whole argument was
you want to have the war with Mexico first, don't you?
That's right. Yeah.
Build the wall and bomb them.
Build the
you
wall.
Want to play the Washington Generals first and have an easy battle before you go
America
back over there.
first, buddy.
All right.
Oh.
All right. Well, I don't think we're going to solve any more of the world's problems on the international stage today.
How much time we got?
That was a good conversation.
Solve them all in about 15 minutes.
You're going to what?
I can solve them all in about 15 minutes.
Well, we'll do that on a Dakota Davis show if that ever exists.
It won't.
Well, let's go around the room in conclusion here. Any final thoughts, Dakota? You got anything for us? No Cosmo articles tonight?
No Cosmo article. But I was going to look one up, but things ended up getting a little bit serious around here, which doesn't happen very often, but I'm glad it did. I think we made a good podcast here. All right. So if you want to see more of me, then you can check out my Snapchat and look me up on Facebook.
What's your Snapchat? What are the digits? How do we find you?
See, I don't...
You don't know any of this?
Yeah.
You're not very good at the
you can look up my Facebook, and it's in my Facebook bio.
All right. So what's your Facebook? Facebook.com/Dakota Davis or what?
Yeah, Dakota. I think there's a period between Dakota and Davis. So.
All right.
You figure that out.
Very good. Well, we thank you for co-hosting again today, Dakota. Patrick, this is probably the last time Patrick's going to join me because I'm convinced that he's going to be big time on CNN or Fox News very soon.
It's so competitive. Like, I've been trying to get an internship in New York City. I've applied everywhere, and like I thought I had good clips, good resume, good everything. I haven't got anything back. It's rough. But one day,
maybe this is the big break.
Maybe this is. Someone's going to hear me. And
that's right. And they're going to be like,
hire that guy.
We're going to hire Patrick. We're going to put him at the New York Post by July.
One day I'll be somewhere. Don't worry.
I'll
be somewhere.
You'll say, so what did you like most about me? I heard you on the Boss Hog Daily.
That's right. He was on the We Are Libertarians Network on their lowest rated show at one time. He was on episode 2.
I was one of the 18 people.
Tad's already up to 12. The Tadcast is up to 12. We're at 2, Dakota. We need to pick this up.
Wow.
We're at the second episode. Spangle hasn't canceled us yet. So how do we follow you? If people want to add you, follow your career.
So all my social media, don't add me on Snapchat. If you want, I guess you can. But Twitter, Instagram, I guess I'll include Snapchat, but it's not news. So it's at Midwest Patrick, no spaces. Just how it's spelled, Midwest Patrick.
Just Midwest Patrick.
And then if you really want to read my stuff or watch I do video, and I write too. www.patrickallancalvert.com. So it's Patrick how it's spelled. Allen is ALAN, and Calvert is CALVERT. My best stories are on there, and my bio. Yeah, my resume's on there if you want to hire me. That'd be cool, I guess.
Awesome.
Yep.
Well, very good. Well, thank you, Patrick. I know you're 25 hours in or so, and I know you got
Hey,
your
no
one cup of
problem.
coffee.
I'm wide awake now. It's so weird. I had so much fun. So
That's great.
it's
Well,
cool.
very good. Well, thanks everybody for following. I don't have any final thoughts today. You can find me on Facebook, facebook.com/Jeremiah Morrell. I did have a guy, funny quick story as we're signing off here. My Gmail is jeremiahmorrell@gmail.com. I'm like OG Jeremiah Morrell. I got the first one.
Wow.
Yeah.
So there's a fellow, I won't give too much away about the guy. He's got the same name as me, but he's got one letter different.
Aw.
I get these emails today in my inbox, and his insurance company is paying him a significant amount of money, and it's in my inbox. I'm getting his homeowner's insurance claims. I'm like, well, man, that routing number's not going to come to me. You gotta adjust this thing. So yeah, I actually called the insurance guy. I'm like, hey, I don't, this other Jeremiah, it's not his address. So I feel sorry that I was the first one on the Gmail train and he didn't get it, but I'm Jeremiah Morrell. So Jeremiah Morrell on the Gmail, on Facebook, facebook.com/Jeremiah Morrell. And that's probably the only place I really post regularly. A little on the Instagram, but I'm more of a lurker over there. Snapchat, you really don't care to see that. It's pretty boring. That's just me driving around, wandering the Midwest in my sales career.
It's not boring. It's depressing.
It is depressing. There's not much to it.
I'm kind of jealous of it. I see it. I'm like, this guy's going everywhere.
Yeah, he's in Dayton again. Congratulations.
Yeah. It's still cool.
All right. Well, thank you guys for being here. We'll get this thing posted, and I don't know if this is going to be a weekly podcast or how much is going to come out, but subscribe. We do appreciate all the listeners. Find us on SoundCloud. If you like it, review it on the. I'm not an Apple guy. I'm a Droid guy, but I know in the iTunes store you can review the podcast and give it 5 stars there. Maybe we'll be the best new coming show. I think just the art alone, the Boss Hog of Liberty art that Spangle came up with is going to be...
We got to be better than Tad Western.
We're coming for you, Tad.
Yeah.
I don't have Miranda's assets, but I think we can come after Tad.
Yeah. Don't make me sick dogger on you, Tad.
Uh-oh. Well, very good. Thank you to Spangle and all of the We Are Libertarians contributors. Jump on the PayPal, kick a little money into Spangle, let him know the Boss Hog of Liberty is the reason why he did it. And we'll see y'all next time.
Thank you for listening to the We're Libertarians Network. Get our other shows at We'reLibertarians.com.